Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Fireside chat on managing security leadership for the age of AI. I'm Greg Pollock. I'm the head of research and insights here at UpGuard, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Erika Carrara, Vice President and Chief Information Security and Infrastructure Officer at the Greenbrier Companies. Erika, how are you doing today?
Hi, Greg. I am well. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Before getting to know you, then I did not know very much about the Greenbrier Companies, but it turns out they're important. Can you tell me a little bit about what Greenbrier does and what you do there?
Yeah, Greenbrier is a global manufacturing company of rail cars. But they not only manufacture rail cars, they have a life cycle of management, maintenance, rail car accounting, leasing. They have one of the largest, they're one of the largest rail car owners in the United States, well, in North America. So think all things rail cars.
Cool. And what does the IT infrastructure, what does the information security part of running a rail car business look like?
Well, I'm the Chief Information Security Officer, but I also lead the IT infrastructure team. So it is a globally complex landscape. Manufacturing historically hasn't really invested a lot in technology over the years, and we have a lot of operational technology that sometimes, plant floor machines, the cost to replace them outweighs the cost to, implement mitigating controls. So it's globally dispersed. It's complex in nature of types of OT and our IT space.
And in addition to the OT stuff, am I right in thinking you all also have like you use SaaS vendors, you have some additional I don't know, IT infrastructure you're using?
Sure. So we're hybrid cloud. We have on-prem data centers and cloud infrastructure as well.
Yeah, cool. So let's see, when you think about today's cyber risk landscape, what feels the most complex right now?
It's the complexity is just understanding what we have, where we have it, visibility into identities and the
Mhm.
types of access people needs to perform their jobs for the company, um, and then just the changing threat landscape. I like to look at the threat actors that target transportation, manufacturing, critical infrastructure, and it you have to stay informed and aware and cascade that into your organizations into action. So you have to know your vulnerabilities and you have to know your threats. You have to know where you're weak and you have to prioritize that through your security strategy, aligning with the IT organization to help drive their priorities to support closing windows and doors against the threats that we see that are actionable.
I know in recent years, then there have been quite a few like ransomware attacks or ransomware groups targeting manufacturing. Are there
Mhm.
particular threats that, I don't know, come up more in conversation or that are more on the top of your mind than others?
Well, as your tech stack gets better and more secure, what did they say? Like the newest Verizon report that came out, shows over the past decade that threat actors don't target technology as much, right? That line has been going down and down and down. So people are
Mhm.
where you need to focus and shifting the culture to have better cyber hygiene, more threat aware. So it's really looking at the types of events that we're seeing, are incident events that have been contained, that they fire off, but luckily, we haven't experienced any of this, but looking to see why that continues to happen and then train accordingly. We see business email compromise in increasing in our organization, and I'm sure that aligns with what I see globally being published that as AI gets better at taking out the keys that we've taught people over and over again to look for those high I'm a prince type emails with the bad grammar and bad punctuation, and now that's being phased out, where translation is better using chat GPTs and technology like that. So it's really getting in front of that. If you know that's happening and that's a theme, then you have to go to your finance organization and align with them to say, hey, what are your procedures? Are your procedures being followed by your teams? Are your teams aware and accounting? There's the emails that are going around that are being revived from 10 years ago about, hey, send me your aging list. Right. So BEC compromise that's used, like send me your aging invoices list.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm the CFO, send me your aging invoices list. That's a good one that keeps happening over and over again through my career, and it just doesn't end. Right. So then you see this and you get in front of it by going to accounting and finance and asking them, do your employees know to pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. CFO, did you ask me for this email? Right. And they're bringing the CEOs into it too. And so you have to train people to that. So it's good to build a relationship there, and know your internal processes, test your internal processes. They become part of your resilience planning, your tabletops.
Yeah.
And
Hey, you know what?
you
There
partner
are,
through it.
we talked a lot before this about your internal processes and how you embedded security in the organization, but we're already getting so many questions about AI. I want to pull on that thread a little bit more, because you did mention that, people being the point of attack. How does user management, user risk management, how does that intersect with AI, and sort of both through how people use AI internally? And then I guess you were touching on how attackers use AI, but how does the use of AI internally create risk, and then how do you manage that?
So, I mean, the use of AI, I think it's akin to any other technology you're going to bring into the organization. Who's going to use it? What access does it touch? Or what access does it have? What systems does it touch? What data is involved in those systems? And then what reverse engineer that? What's the worst case scenario that could possibly happen if that were to be leveraged in any kind of attack or exfiltration or anything like that? So you have your known knowns. You know how to build a security program. You have a security program. You have protections in place. So start playing those scenarios through for AI. AI will just speed up any one of those at any time. Right. So data exfiltration or sorry, I can't think of that other word. Any kind of attack vector. So they can get information faster if you allow it to have the information in your organization. Mm-hmm. And the correlation of that data. Look across your ecosystem that AI has access to, and what's the highest level of information. If you gather all that information together, what could they learn from your organization? Even if you think it's not relevant, the sum of that information mm-hmm. could be relevant. So
yeah, that's one of my favorite things, I guess, on my sort of red team and research side, is pulling together a bunch of information that in itself is treated like junk data, but as a whole gives you a really interesting view into things a company may not, or people may not know they're revealing about themselves. But I wanted to ask, are you, we see a lot of pressure on companies to adopt AI because of the potential for benefits. And I wanted to ask, are you feeling the pressure to adopt AI, and then how are you managing that against risk and in a way that sort of balances concerns you might have with the desires of the business?
Yeah, so you made a point in the last question. I just want to pull into this one. AI adoption, right? So luckily we have a legal team that got in front of this and helped publish an AI policy, just like you have an acceptable use policy, you should have an acceptable use for AI, policy and procedure. So with that, we were able to operationalize it. That's a process. It's not like a turn on the switch and go. Also, luckily, we have said, we're a Microsoft shop. So we piloted Copilot. We had a new leader come in from a different company and said, you know what, turn on that thing already for my whole organization. I want Copilot on for my whole organization, right? It's you have to move with the speed of the business, but you also at the same time are responsible for putting in the guardrails to one, train people to the level. And luckily this time in this company, legal got ahead of that and deployed, the training and the expectations of behavior for using AI. But like we were talking earlier, ahead of this, people are using anything that you don't turn off. So also getting the visibility into the usage of AI. And then in my mind, you should have the foundational practices for visibility already enabled in your organization, or have that conversation and add a risk to your risk register if you don't have them. And that's identity and access management and asset management. Asset management to include your data. You need to know where that data is, because data is gold, it's currency, and it is sought after by these threat actors.
We've got some really good questions, which is great to see.
Yeah, I'm seeing them come in.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to start some of the higher voted ones. Actually, I'm going to start the second one. Oh yeah, Antonio, I remember you. Yeah, good to see you again. This gets to third-party risk, which is again something that we've talked about when it comes to AI governance and TPRM governance overall. Oops, sorry, I didn't expand this. How do you strike the balance between enabling innovation in the business and setting the guardrail? So I guess what we were talking about, but I do think digging into third parties and what do you want to know from them about AI, and then how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I'm not here to promote UpGuard, but I'm obviously an UpGuard customer. It's very helpful to use UpGuard if you don't have it anywhere else, and I'm just saying crawl, walk, run. If you're in your infancy on your maturity level for AI governance, it's really nice to add a tag for AI. So when you're doing your contract reviews and you see that AI is a part of your third-party technology, that you have it in there so that you can at least have a conversation with the vendor about that. Where is my data going to go? Where is it housed? What are you going to use it for? Do I have a right to that data? Just ask all the questions you would any other time they would have access to your data. And then, in the event of a breach, what is all of those questions? So yeah, did I answer that question? The third party?
I think so. I mean, I think it's a great point that you have made. I know I've got to talk to you for several more hours than what we're doing here, but time and again, the point that if you have the fundamentals in place, then a lot of the AI management will simply fall out of those. So if you know which third parties have what data, then it's sort of it's a natural N+1 question of what fourth parties do I have? What third parties do you have? And how are they processing data, which is essentially the same questions you've been asking them all along, but now just sort of adding, and if it's AI, that's not exempt. I also still want to know if you're passing data to a party for model processing or something. We've got another highly voted question, which I think is, I might throw in my answer too. The most highly rated question is, in the AI security infrastructure, will this mean fewer jobs for the information security professional? And I'll just say my answer is no. There's way more work to do. I'll defer to you, Erika.
No, there's no possible way. So the concern I have is no, I don't think it's going to take away any security jobs. I think the theme I'm reading about and seeing time and time again is that it's going to possibly replace entry-level jobs for security, or the feeders into security, like some entry-level help desk positions. And I think the great thing about being human is we're adaptable and we can manage that. So entry level jobs look different, right? So for giving that away to AI, then entry level just looks different. So, but if you look at everything else, and if you have an oracle, I think it's looking like the threat landscape. I felt when AI really hit the scene 5 years ago, 4 years ago now, I felt like I don't understand, the ecosystem anymore. I had to really wrap my mind around all the different vectors and all the different ways, and kind of thinking like a criminal or thinking like a disruptor. How can I use this with the knowledge that I have of this environment to wreak havoc or steal or whatever else? So it's really look at the technology stack you have, look at your vulnerabilities, look at your job and what you do for the organization, and then think, okay, I've got this multiplier called AI. It can be used for good and it can be used for bad, and really work with your risk management team to identify those things that you feel are risks. Your list of the ugly that exists in the environment from your perspective and your role really helps to frame the whole context of the problem, because AI will see things faster than we can if we don't use it the same way.
Yeah. This gets back, I'm going to jump out of Q&A to ask a question that I wanted to get to. One of the things we had talked about was your work establishing an AI governance board. I think maybe at a couple of different roles. I thought that would be really helpful, practical advice for people to hear who, like you said, crawl, walk, run. If you don't have an AI policy in place, get one. And then if you don't have a board in place to approve that policy, then like where can you start with, we've got nothing, but we want to do something. Where do you start?
Right. So get the people that are excited the most about AI involved and just start a steering committee. Just start somewhere. And you can leverage, if you have cyber insurance, you can leverage your underwriters to help with this. Like there are a whole bunch of resources that you can draw on that'll help you build this out. You can also leverage AI to say, hey, what is something I can help draft a charter for a steering committee around AI. And I was speaking earlier with Greg about the best candidates to start putting through your steering committee are processes that are matured and are delivering repeatable output. As you know, if you want to show ROI on AI adoption, you're going to have to work with a process that's already existing. And since you're all listening today, anytime anybody comes to you and says, I want this AI tool, or I want this AI connector, or I want this AI enabled, whatever, ask them what the process is that you have already. The last thing you want to do is buy technology for technology's sake because there's an awesome silver-tongued vendor that told you this will solve all your problems. All your problems are going to still be your problems, plus you'll be spending money for maybe some shelfware. So just make sure that you've got good process. So if the business comes to you and says, hey, I want to get in front of your committee to talk about this, possible AI adoption, ask them what the process is, make sure it's documented, and make sure they can show you X amount of months of outcomes that are near or are repeatable. So then you asked me about, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought on that one, but
no, that was it.
Was I wanted to say. Yeah.
How you started, how you got started with bringing the right people together. And it's true. I'm glad to hear you say it. A cheeky hack for a lot of things is just ask AI, how do I do this thing? Because you're not the first person to write a policy for whatever it is.
No, they exist, but you also have your partners in the organization. Like I said, cyber insurance is one of them. If you've got a retainer for incident response services, they're going to be another one. Generally, any one of your big vendors are going to have some kind of add-on service that should be low to no cost to help you be a full force multiplier on your team.
Yeah, cool. This question is from not an UpGuard employee, but it is very highly voted, so I'm going to it. What is the biggest challenge that UpGuard has helped with?
Oh man. So I'm a repeat UpGuard customer. Initially, they have helped just expedite the ability to build a third-party risk management program, but their suite of tools that they have in here. So once you build your database of vendors or your list of vendors, you can tier them. You can add all kinds of it's just such an easy interface that people that aren't familiar with it can hop in and they can just hit the ground running in UpGuard. But once you have your database, you've got your fourth parties, but you also have this feed that tells you when any one of those vendors have experienced any kind of breach, which is nice. And then you have your domains, right? So then UpGuard also tells you if there's any identity breaches, your dark web stuff, all that. So, I mean, the value that you get from this tool is something that I've never seen, and I've been doing third-party risk management longer than I really want to say. So it's just a really uniquely cool, easy-to-use tool. But like I said, and I think I have some people on my team that can attest to this that are on this call today. It helped us go from low to mid maturity faster than I've ever actually seen in any other organization before. So I appreciate you for that.
Wow. Yeah, thanks.
And then, you've got the embedded, one-stop shop for talking to your vendors, questionnaires for vendors, rating your vendors, like risk profile for vendors. I could just go on and on about this, but yeah, that's a good question. Thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate you you sharing that. Let's see. I think we probably got time for one more question, and I'm going to go back to myself. With your experience of building security teams, building security functions, I don't know. Yeah, what I guess one piece of advice would you leave people with who are looking to do that? What's worked for building a great security function?
It's right people, right seats, and as much as you can, aligning their goals and their desires to those right seats. So happy people do great things. It's something I say often, but so I mean, you've got your people element and your people help you get there. So you've got a North Star that you have to develop as a leader in alignment with what you were asked to do when you took the job as a leader for whatever company you're working for. And then once you have that and you understand the nature of the company, this is iterative, but you start to understand the risk profile of the organization and their appetite, then you can start to build the appropriate team to support that. And then everything matters when it comes to the people that you choose to be on your team and point at that North Star.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Erika, thank you for sharing your perspective on all of these. And it's been great talking to you before and then bring that into this venue as well. From balancing AI innovation to securing it and understanding the needs of the business, this has been a really valuable conversation for everyone. And
thank you very much, Greg.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Well, that wraps up today's summit. Thank you everyone else for joining us too. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.